All right, let's install Phoenix and mess around with it, shall we? So before we install Phoenix, we first need to make sure HBase is running. So I've already kicked off my Hortonworks Docker Sandbox VirtualBox image here, and that's up and running right now. So let's log into Ambari, 127.0.0.1:8080, just as always. We'll log in as admin using the administrative account that you set up earlier. And by default, HBase is not running when you boot up, so click on the HBase service, go to Service Actions, and say Start. All right, HBase is sitting there humming along, waiting for us, so that's cool. Now let's log into our desktop sandbox environment again, like we always do, through SSH and PuTTY on Windows, or whatever terminal you might be using. We'll log in as Maria_dev as usual, and we're going to super user su root because we're going to be installing stuff. All right, so let's install Phoenix. It's really hard. Ready for it? Yum, install Phoenix. Just like that. Make sure you spell it right, though. Phoenix is kind of... There's a few ways of spelling it, it turns out, but this is the one you want. Off we go. Would I like to install that? Why, yes, I would. All right, Phoenix is installed. That was real hard, wasn't it? Let's play with it. So it put it under this folder. Let's go to cd/user/http/current/phoenix-client, and that's where Phoenix is installed, okay? If we go to the bin folder, let's take a peek at what's in there. These are the various scripts that control Phoenix. And the one we're going to play with is SQL line. That's the command line interface for Phoenix. So let's go ahead and pull that up. We're going to type in Python SQLline.py, just like that. And that should kick off Phoenix and give us an interface to it. Cool, we got our prompt. Awesome, so let's see what tables we have to work with in HBase. We can do !tables to get a list of the tables that Phoenix knows about. And right now it's just the default system tables that are in HBase, which is not too surprising. But let's mess around. Let's actually issue some SQL commands and see what we can do here. So remember, we're running on top of HBase here, which is a NoSQL database that by default just has a very simple API of just, getting and putting keys and values. But we're going to actually execute some real SQL on top of it. So let's start by creating a new table. And this is coming straight from the website from Phoenix, by the way, but it's as good an example as anyway. We're going to make a little table of US cities and their population. So let's do create table if not exists. So that means, if you're in the script or something, you can safely execute this even if a table's already there. We'll call it US_population. All right, and we can do multiple lines, it's fine. And it's going to contain these fields. State, which is going to be a character of 2 characters. And we're going to require that to be not null, meaning that we require the state field to be filled, or else you get an error. We will also have a city column. That will be a varchar, meaning that it's some varying length character field. Also required, it's not null. And finally, we'll have a population column. That will be a big integer. And we will introduce what the primary key is. So this is HBase, so we do need to say what we're going to be distributing this data on, so that is required. Let's say constraint. We'll call the primary key my_pk. Primary key, and it's going to be a compound key, actually, of a combination of the state and city. So every state-city pair should be a unique value that we're going to actually partition our HBase database on. And we'll close off that final parenthesis and put a semicolon to tell Phoenix that we're done, and it will go off and do that. Assuming I didn't typo anything. All right, cool. So now if we do bang or ! tables, we should see our US population table has been created. Cool, so let's put some data into it. Now the first time I started playing with Phoenix, I said, oh, it's just a SQL interface. There's nothing to learn here. So I just blindly typed the insert into SQL statement to insert a row into this database. And I got this huge stack trace and an error message saying that it doesn't know what insert means. And I said, what kind of SQL doesn't know what insert means? Well, it turns out Phoenix does not know what insert means. Instead, use a command called upsert, which means that I'm going to insert this row, but if it already exists, I'm going to update the contents of the existing row. Okay, so you cannot insert using Phoenix, but you can upsert. So let's upsert into US_population. If I can type it. the following values in the order in which the columns are defined. The state New York, the city New York, and the population value 8143197. I have no idea if that's accurate or not, but let's just pretend it is. And let's put in another city in while we're at it. Upsert into US population. Values California, Los Angeles, with, let's see, 3844829 people. Cool. All right, so now we can see what's in there. We can do a select star from US population, just standard SQL, and get back a list of everything that's in that table, and sure enough, it's in there. We can do, more complex queries like select star from US population where state equals California. Just get back Los Angeles. So there you have it. We've actually set up a table in HBase and executed actual SQL queries to create the table, insert a couple of rows into it, and do some queries back on it. And you can do more complex things too, like joins and pretty much anything else you can dream of. There's not really a whole lot of SQL that Phoenix does not support, insert being a notable exception. But there's a reason for that. The underlying implementation of HBase kind of requires that. Let's clean up our mess. We can say drop table US_population. And has to go chug away and actually wipe it out of HBase. If we do a exclamation point tables now, we should see that that table is gone, and it is. Cool. And finally, to get out of here, let's type in exclamation point quit to get back to our main prompt. Cool. All right, so that's using the command line interface of Phoenix on top of HBase, and you can see it's very easy to set up and pretty easy to use too. So up next, let's actually do something a little bit more complicated with Phoenix and integrate it with Pig and play around with some movie lens data again. All right, we'll do that in our next lecture.